I recently finished up Final Fantasy IX on my journey through the Final Fantasy series of games. Final Fantasy IX is one of my favorite games in the series so far, and part of the reason is due to its characters. As I've been doing after each of the games in the Final Fantasy series since 4, I want to take a look at the characters of the game and share which ones were my favorites and which ones I didn't like quite as much. Now there are many ways to go about a list like this, but I want to lay out how I am approaching this list. First, this is only based on the personality and story impact of these characters. I'm not ranking them on their usefulness in battle or comparing their strengths. This is purely looking at the story and how much I liked their role in it, their personality, their interactions with the other characters, things like that. Second, I am deciding to focus only on the main cast of characters. You are able to have 4 other characters join your party over the course of the game for short periods of time, but I'm not really including them on the list. Cinna, Marcus, Blank, and Beatrix are all decent characters in their own right, but while they help you out, none of them are super developed over the course of the game and would probably just wind up near the bottom of my list anyhow. Next, as always with lists like these, I will be delving into spoiler territory. I just want to give people fair warning about such things because I don't want to spoil a game for people who haven't played it yet and care about spoilers. Lastly, these are just my opinions. People love different characters for different reasons. The reason I like a character or dislike a character may be the reason why you dislike or like them yourself. That's why having people share their own rankings is always fun to see, so feel free to share yours in the comments below. With all that out of the way, let's head to the list. At number 8, I have Steiner. I didn't really enjoy Steiner as a character that much in Final Fantasy IX. I'm not sure if I'm in the minority here or if other ranked lists just focus on his combat ability and not his story role. I'll admit his melee combat is great, but as a character I just didn't really like him that much. Steiner is the horrible combination of naive and clueless, but also loud, belligerent, and thinks he's always right. While he is one of the earlier party members for a large part of the first half of the game, it feels like he's always actively working against the larger goal of the party. I know he's meant to be a comic relief character, but I didn't really find him or the insults hurled his way all that funny. Even a good way through the game, he is still booting his companions like Aiko out of the castle for no good reason. Steiner does change by the end of the game, and I did grow to tolerate him a bit more and even cheer on his attempts to woo Beatrix. Even so, he just never really became my favorite character and felt like he only changed because he was drug kicking and screaming through the story of the game. At number 7, I have Amarant. I feel like Amarant suffers from being the least developed character of the main cast. He's the last to join and doesn't really have a compelling reason to join the quest. He's a mercenary sent to retrieve Garnet's pendant and kill Vivi, but is beaten by Zidane in a one-on-one battle. Even though he is defeated, Zidane refuses to end his life. This perplexes Amarant, and he wants to know how Zidane is so powerful. That's pretty much his reason for joining. While you do learn some more backstory about how Zidane and him had once crossed paths when Zidane had earlier framed him for theft, it's not super deep and doesn't really help develop him that much. The main development of Amarant's personality is how his philosophy changes over the time spent with Zidane in the party. Amarant's personal philosophy is one of a loner, that he doesn't need others and should be dependent upon his own strength, and that really those who don't depend on their own strength aren't really very strong in the first place. This view of life comes into conflict with Zidane's way of life that is all about connection and protecting those who are valuable to him. While it is fun to see Amarant slowly shift his beliefs, he just doesn't have enough investment into the main narrative to make him higher on the list. If he had some compelling reason to join the party and their goals, this may have been different, but that's just not really the case here. At number 6, I have Quina. Speaking of not having compelling reasons to join the party, here's Quina. Quina is an interesting character, a gourmand who basically joins your party so that they can try new food around the world. There isn't a great motivation behind Quina's involvement in the story of the game. Even so, I found myself enjoying Quina quite a bit. They are a bit of a comic relief character also, but unlike Steiner, I actually found Quina's antics funny a good portion of the time. The highlight is probably when Vivi and Quina wind up getting married in order to access the Aoife tree. Also, despite Quina's oddness, they very much get the importance of connection and friends over the course of the game. While they may not always play an important role in the main events of the story, I did enjoy Quina quite a bit as a supporting character. At number 5, I have Freya. Unlike the last couple of characters, Freya has more of a reason to join the party and their efforts. Sadly, Freya and really the Burmesians in general are not developed nearly as much as I would have liked. Freya feels defined by 2 realities: her search for the man she loves, Sir Fratley, and her desire to defeat those who destroyed both Burmecia and Clara. It feels like Freya's story is one of tragedy and despair. Both of her people's settlements have been destroyed, many lives have been lost, and even when she finds the man she loves, he has lost his memory. Despite all this, Freya presses on and doesn't let the tragedies destroy her. She joins the party, and while she starts off on a quest of vengeance, she winds up being able to protect the world alongside the party. I do wish that her character was a bit more developed, but I did really like what was there. She also gets a bit of a hopeful ending as her and Sir Frantley develop a relationship even though he still doesn't remember their past together. At number 4, I have Eiko. I had a hard time placing Eiko. I wasn't sure whether I liked Freya or her better. On the one hand, I didn't love her being so young and the weird crush thing that she had going on with Zidane. On the other hand, I felt for the little girl who was left to fend for herself, who wanted desperately not to be alone and felt the need to put up a strong front. Eiko, like many of the characters in this game, has faced her share of tragedy. She's lost her parents, her grandfather, and her whole village. If it wasn't for the Mughals, she would have been completely alone. That she's able to function and survive as well as she has shows that she is one tough little girl, and you can't help but root for her. She also serves as a great connection point for Garnet's story. She's another summoner who helps Garnet realize that she too was from this village. This leads them to having kind of a special support for one another as the last 2 summoners alive. While I didn't love her crush on Zidane, I did somewhat get where it came from. I also have to admit that the chaos caused by her love letter in particular was a pretty funny scene. I'd say the high point of her narrative impact is when she comes to Garnet's aid in Alexandria and they jointly summon Alexander. It's a pretty epic moment, even though it doesn't really have a happy resolution. Seeing Eiko adopted by Cid and Hilda at the end of the game was just a heartwarming moment as well, as Eiko once again has a family and a place to call home. I wound up liking this young summoner a decent amount by the end and felt that she had a fairly substantial role in the overall story. At number 3, I have Garnet. Princess Garnet is the first of the characters that I view as central to the narrative of Final Fantasy IX. They are the ones who are really wrestling with the events from start to finish, and you couldn't really have the story without them, which can't completely be said for many of the previous entries. Garnet is third place because she feels like a bit of an inconsistent character. She plans to escape from her mother and seek the counsel of her uncle Cid, but once she actually arrives there, she then decides to go back to confront her mother now that she has learned about her creating a Black Mage army. The question I have for this is what makes her think that this is going to go well? If she was already planning on escaping from the castle just because she thought her mother was acting somewhat odd, why does her creating an army of Black Mages seem like a compelling reason to go back and that she's going to listen to Garnet in the first place? Predictably, this decision has catastrophic consequences, as Garnet has her summons extracted from her and then used as part of her mother's war effort. Now, this summary pretty much displays what I liked and disliked about Garnet. She wasn't someone to just sit around and wait for things to pass. She took action. It's just that some of her actions seem a little too impulsive, naive, and poorly planned. This is especially true in the early game. While the fallout of these decisions sometimes sidelined her for quite some time, like when she's captured by her mother when she returns, and then later when she becomes mute after the destruction of Alexandria, she continues pressing forward despite these issues. Even though she has these flaws, I found Garnet to be an extremely likable character. She cares about those around her, is willing to take action, and grows into a capable leader over the course of the game. While she does have to rely on the support of others throughout the game, she also desires to support those who have supported her and displays that at key points in the story. I'm also just a big sucker for romances in stories, and I really enjoyed seeing her and Zidane's relationship grow over the course of the game. While I do kind of wish they were a bit more honest with their feelings throughout, certain moments like the ending scene made the wait worth it. At number 2, I have Vivi. It was really hard to choose between Vivi or Zidane for the top spot. I love both of these characters, but after thinking about it, I stuck Vivi here. Vivi's journey through the story of Final Fantasy IX is a very emotional one. You start out the game just thinking he's this naive Black Mage kid that is shy, awkward, and lacks confidence. As the game progresses though, you realize that Vivi is a created being that somehow became self-aware. This reality shakes Vivi to his core and leads him to wrestle with his purpose for existing. Vivi struggles even more as he learns from other awakened Black Mages in the Black Mage village that the lifespan of Black Mages are only around a year. These revelations cause Vivi to wrestle with his purpose and the meaning of life and death. Huge topics to be wrestling with. However, as Vivi wrestles with these topics, he grows more confident and chooses his own path and purpose. It's quite the emotional journey for the little Black Mage. Sadly, the ending really hits you, with Vivi not being able to join the rest of his friends as they gather in Alexandria. Instead, we get what seems to be a narration or a letter from Vivi that indicates that Vivi has died. We do see a number of Vivi's children arrive in Alexandria, but aren't really told how they came to be. Mist is gone, which was used to create the Black Mages in the first place, but the genomes from Terra may have been able to help with the creation of new Black Mages with their knowledge even without the Mist. Regardless, Vivi's journey is a heartfelt one of personal struggle and trying to figure out some huge questions about life, death, and purpose, all while on a quest to save the world. While his story ends with a bit of an emotional emotional gut punch, it's only because the journey was so well done and that you loved this character so much. At number 1, I have Zidane. I really enjoyed Zidane as the main character of Final Fantasy IX. His friendly, cheerful, and even flirtatious personality was a breath of fresh air compared to the more brooding and awkward protagonists of 7 and 8. Not that I dislike Cloud or Squall, but I just thought that it was good to have a bit of a different type of person in the lead role for a change. You may think with a personality like this that he's someone who doesn't take things very seriously. That's not really the case. While he is lighthearted, he has strong opinions about doing what he thinks is right and protecting those around him. He is very much the strong center of the party and the heart that keeps everyone moving forward. He is particularly supportive of Garnet's and Vivi's struggles, but honestly, he's supportive of most everyone in the party at some point or the other. Not directly offering advice or support like with Garnet or Vivi, he's accepting of who they are and doesn't really try to actively change them like in the case of Emerald. There are just some great little moments with Garnet and Vivi where Zidane is just trying to help those he cares about with the struggles they're facing. One of my favorites is probably the scene at Madain Sari where Zidane and Vivi are talking about Vivi dwelling on all that is bothering him. Zidane offers what support he can, and while it's maybe not the most profound or ultimately doesn't solve Vivi's issues, it's another little moment of support for not just what Vivi is going through, but of who Vivi is and how he's different from Zidane, and that that's okay too. And I think that's why I have Zidane at top instead of Vivi or Garnet, is because he is there for both of them. He is the heart, the rock that they both lean on through their own struggles. Now, that's the reason why he's at the top for me, but I also love that this gets turned kind of upside down near the end of the game. Zidane has learned that he is a genome, that he was a created being as well, and that he was created to help destroy Gaia. This news just wrecks Zidane, and despite always supporting others, he doesn't want to bother his friends even though he is clearly struggling at this point in the game. To see all of his friends come and try to help him in this moment is both encouraging and heartbreaking, as he still rejects their help. Zidane has supported his friends all through the story and yet feels that he can't rely on them with his own problems. Finally, after confronted by Garnet and her feelings and her support for him, he is finally able to snap out of it and accept the support and encouragement of his friends. It's one of my favorite moments from the game and really hits me emotionally, especially with the amazing Not Alone playing in the background. It just creates this very emotional moment in the game that takes everything that's great about Zidane, flips it upside down, and then requires him to accept the support that he's given throughout the rest of the game. It's just really well done in my opinion. Throw in Zidane's romance with Garnet on top of it all, and yeah, Zidane was just a character that I thoroughly enjoyed. I loved that he was positive and supportive, but that he also had a dark moment where he needed to rely on his friends and couldn't handle it all on his own. And that's why Zidane is my favorite character from Final Fantasy IX. And that does it for my list. Final Fantasy IX had a great cast of characters. While not all of them had the same story significance and development, I didn't really hate any of them. Even Steiner, who I liked least, did grow on me over time, just not quite enough to make up for his annoying personality that was so on display for the first half of the game. What about you? Who were your favorite characters from Final Fantasy IX? I know that others will definitely have a different ranking of characters, so I'd love to hear your list in the comments. That's all for this video though, so I'll see you in the next one.